It's- All right, and we are live.
Yeah.
People see the finished product, right? That's construction, but they don't always see everything happening behind the scenes to actually what makes a project move. So in construction, and this is any type of project, we're talking about field teams, trades, warehousing, logistics, vendors, and supplier partnerships. There are a lot of moving parts in the industry, and truthfully, if materials don't make it to site, these projects are not getting built. They're actually not moving. So, everybody, welcome back to the Everything Construction Live show. My name is Gloria Marie. I am your host for today's show. I'm a builder by trade and now part of Emser Tile's business development team within our luxury custom builder and outdoor division across the East Coast. Today, I am joined by Taylor Schuetz out of Emser's Houston branch. And Taylor's part of our trade team, also supporting builders, contractors, designers, projects throughout his market and beyond. I'll let Taylor introduce himself. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great way to start off the Memorial Day weekend, so I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm going on 4 years here at cover the North Houston and surrounding markets for Emser Tile, outside sales rep. Working in the multi-seg division, so I cover everything from trade contractors to luxury custom home builders and some commercial stuff and A&D and obviously the dealer market. So um, dabble in a little bit of everything. So it's every day is a little different, and every customer's definitely got their own spice as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, it's a little bit about you professionally.
Hmm.
So before we get into who you are and who Taylor is, let's kick off with our usual question: why construction?
Well, that's a long story. There's parts of my life that if they didn't happen when they happened, I wouldn't probably be in the same situation that I'm in now, right? So
Right.
there's a big kind of background to that. But I started in sales back in 2010. Then I had to, finish school and did some different things. We're obviously going to get into that, some of the travel and some of the international work I did. But I started back in 2018 at Sherwin-Williams. So that was my
Okay.
first entry into, building materials, obviously coding industry, working with contractors, designers, everything from um, new builds to national builders. And so I got my feet wet about 4 years over there at Sherwin Williams, everything from running branches to outside sales as well. And just that was really where I got hands on with heavy contractor relations, and building relationships with small business owners, with commercial companies, GCs, all the way down the line. And that kind of segued me into Emser Tile. So we covered the coatings, and now we're kind of in the flooring and countertop space now. So it's a little bit of everything, but obviously a long backstory of how I ended up back here.
Well, why don't we get into some of that backstory? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and outside of the world of finishings, which you have been a
Yes.
part of both on the paint and now the tile and stone side, who you are?
Yes. Well, I grew up actually here in North Houston. Ironically, my branch is located about 10 minutes from where I grew up, so I made it back home. So I'm very familiar with this area, and been here, different parts of my life. And I grew up, just a normal kid here in North Houston. I'd say my parents described me as the wild child. Lots of energy, boundless energy. Daredevil, all the things. So I grew up. Thankfully they learned how to put me into lots of sports. And
Mhm.
my mom owned a dance studio here in the Woodlands for the last 40 plus years. So we grew up
Okay.
performing and doing nutcrackers. And I'd go from basketball practice to ballet, hip hop, jazz. So very active. And they learned that, okay, Taylor's going to be in a lot of trouble in school if we don't wear him out and get his energy out. So from a young age, I
uh,
was very active and doing lots of things. to kind of manage my crazy energy. I did. My mom likes to tell a story that in kindergarten I went to the principal's office like 25 times or something that year. So I was pretty disruptive little kid, and I
Okay,
don't think,
okay.
yeah, I don't think I like the idea of sitting
I'm
for story
surprised we
time.
didn't hang out together. You're my brother's age. We were living in the Woodlands at the same time. Um,
Really?
yeah, he went to the Woodlands High School. I graduated from the Woodlands High School.
What?
So yeah, I'm
I,
shocked.
I
Yeah.
I was thinking you were like this East Coast girl, and
No,
oh
no.
wow.
I mean, people don't know things, but yeah.
Wow, that's a small world. So you may even know my mom's dance studio is Bonnie's Dance Studio in the Woodlands. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Bonnie's
it.
Dance Studio. I took classes at Bonnie's Dance Studio. That is
Are you
wild.
okay? This is not planned, everybody.
No.
This is
This is how big Emser is,
oh
though.
my God.
We met on LinkedIn. So
Yes.
how wild is this?
And we did
I
not even
did the
talk about that
Nutcracker,
before.
by the way. I did do the
So
Nutcracker.
we were probably in it together because I've been in it every year since I was born. Oh my God. This is my mom's gonna love this. This is gonna be great. All
Hey,
right, so
Bonnie.
yeah, you know my mom a lot better than me. So there you go.
Yeah,
Man,
I short lived in the Woodlands. You know, we moved from Aruba, and I was in the Woodlands for probably like 2 years. My brother is really from the Woodlands, and
oh
you
my
guys are
gosh.
literally the exact same age. So yeah,
Wow. Okay. So then you moved out, and that's just
yeah,
I would not
yeah.
have guessed that. That's amazing. So yes, so you know a little bit about my family already, and
Yeah,
the
well, you
type of
said North Houston, so like I
right.
was like, all
Yes.
right, let's start putting two and three together
Yeah, I
here.
figure we're doing, some national stuff, and people aren't going to really know what, a town of the Woodlands is, but that's crazy that you do. That's a small world. Great.
Yeah, the Woodlands is definitely on the map. This has not been the first time I've had a guest where the Woodlands has been a coinkydink.
Wow.
And people who play golf, there's tons of them on LinkedIn,
Oh
and
yeah.
even those on YouTube. Everybody knows the Woodlands if they play golf. So and
Absolutely.
do concerts. I mean, there's
Yeah.
actually a huge data center convention from 24 7 by 24 every year. Their women's golf tournament is in the Woodlands. So like a
Wow.
bunch of people in the Northeast go to the Woodlands. I mean,
Yeah.
the
The
Woodlands is definitely on
pavilion,
the
all that
map.
stuff. Yeah.
All that stuff. All right, y'all. End
Yes.
of commercial about the Woodlands.
Yes. There you
We went
go.
on a Woodlands rant. The Woodlands is great.
Yes. So I graduated. I graduated actually from Magnolia High School
Okay.
back in '07, and so I played quarterback in high school. So I was trying to go live out my college football dreams for a little bit. That didn't go very well, but
Every Texas high
yes,
schooler does.
right. Got to get it. Got to at least try it, right? So I
Gotta
moved
try
out.
it.
I moved out to West Texas to Alpine, and I lived there for only one semester. Didn't end up making the getting to start football there. It was a small school called
Hmm.
Sul Ross State University. A beautiful area, but as an 18-year-old guy, I that wasn't exactly my ideal location for starting my, I wanted to go to college parties and do all the fun stuff, and middle of a cowboy town in Alpine, Texas was not
It was,
happening for me.
was not it. It was not
Yeah.
it.
So I luckily had the opportunity to go try to play at Saddleback Junior College in Orange County, California. So from absolute middle of nowhere, mountain West Texas to Laguna Beach area, which was obviously, as everyone knows, amazing weather, amazing people. It was just didn't make that team either. Big surprise, but I had my friends from high school there. We shacked in an apartment all together, and I worked at Anaheim Stadium where the Angels played, and concessions, and went to school there a couple of years, and enjoyed the California life before it was time to come on back to the Woodlands. Um,
Hmm.
and get enrolled at University of Houston. And before that happened, I got a sales job for Moon Valley Tree Nurseries, and started working there full time. That was my first dabble in like sales. They were a very sales driven company. You were building contractor accounts, and they did commercial
What were
stuff
you
and
selling? Trees?
trees, shrubs, pallets of
Okay.
sod and mulch, everything. So anybody that came in there, you'd have, just like we
Okay.
have contractor accounts that are buying thin set and stuff. They're buying
Yeah.
they're going to do commercial projects and they need 500, gardenia bushes, and they're going, so I
Okay.
was I did very well in that, and I became the sales manager after like 6 months, and had a little team of 4 guys, hired all my buddies, taught them how to do it. And then I ended up
Yep.
being becoming the general manager at like age 21 there.
Hmm.
And there was no way I was doing school after that, because I was working 6 days a week, 7 to 7 was the GM schedule. So 12 hours a day. Of course, I was 21, had this energy. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm making great money,
Yeah, for
having
sure.
fun, selling, and I was leading a team at 21. It was cool. And, but, a year or two later, I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to be working these hours and doing this type of work out in the sun for 30 years. So, um, did that, got the experience, ended up getting into University of Houston to finish out my last 2 years. And that is when pretty much life changed big time. I got a degree in corporate communications and global business. And part of that degree plan was you had to have 2 years of a foreign language.
Okay.
I took German in high school, no Spanish. I mean, because my last name's German. I was like, oh, that'd be fun. But obviously, in Texas, in the South, Spanish is very, very important. So I was like, let's
Yeah,
do
for
that.
sure.
So I was just going to knock those out as part of my curriculum. Well, one day before class in my second semester, in walks someone from a counselor from the study abroad program to do a little 10-minute spiel before class to see if anyone would be interested in studying abroad this coming summer. And my eyes lit up. I was like, oh, I don't know where this has been all my life. I've always
Right.
had the dream of living abroad, studying abroad, working abroad, whatever. Um, and if I didn't go to that class that day, the weird thing is, and see that presentation, probably wouldn't be here at Imser, because of how everything comes full circle and the timing of
Right.
everything. I wouldn't have my current wife, and I would not have my 2 children. So that's
Right.
all the stuff happened from that little 10-minute spiel in that class that day, because she put up Granada, Spain on the wall on a projector and said, "This is the summer program. We got a great deal for y'all because it's through the school, and y'all can sign up, and it will be worth 2 full semesters of Spanish knocked out in one summer. So an extra bonus was just finishing the degree earlier because I
Early.
knocked that
Yeah.
out." So as soon as I left that class, I don't think I even went to school the rest of that day. I was focused on researching. I went home. I was like, how can I make this happen? Talk to the parents, what can we do? Like, how can I get there for the summer? I don't care what it takes. I got to go. So, that happened. I ended up doing that, had the best experience in the south of Spain. I lived with a host family. And looking back, I think, with hindsight, so when I was 10 years old in the Woodlands, where my family was a host family for 1 year with a girl named Connie Michaels from Germany. And she lived with us for 1 year. And that,
Okay.
I think, she went to the Woodlands, she went to McCullough High School back then. I think it was
Okay.
McCullough.
Yep.
And she, from one day to the next, I'm a 10-year-old little boy and I have a 16-year-old German girl living down the hall from my bedroom, right? So
Right.
that was so fun. I got to ask her a million questions, and I think it really just broadened my horizons about the world. Right?
Yeah, for
I'd,
sure.
I'd ask things like, who's your favorite player on the Houston Rockets or something, and she'd be like, "What's the Houston Rockets?"
What's the
Right?
Houston Rockets?
So
Yeah.
it made me go. 10-year-old brain, you think everybody knows everything that and it's this simple world, but that really opened my eyes to go, wow, the world is bigger than I thought. And I think with hindsight now, I think that bug was planted young, combined with my energy and everything, that I just wanted to get out there and see the world, right?
Right.
So that happened. Ended up going there and studying abroad, having the greatest time. And as soon as I moved back, the only thing I could think about in my last year or so of university was, how do I get back to Spain?
Right.
That was the thought.
I've been to
And
Spain. I don't blame you.
yeah,
You know, I do not
amazing.
blame you. It's absolutely amazing. All
Yeah.
parts of Spain. Yes.
Yes. So that was 2013. I moved back and I finished school at 2014. And I was like, when I was there, I saw signs everywhere of native English speakers needed for teaching English, right? And I was like,
Right.
that's how I can get back to Spain. I can live there. I can make money. I just wanted to do like a gap year, just do a year
Hmm.
before going right into my corporate world of working. I was like, because when I was my study abroad, I met people from all over, and the Germans and everyone else, they all do that. They all go travel the world and do stuff in between, high school and college, or college and, their real job time, right?
Right.
So it was supposed to just be this 1 year thing. Um, Travel all over Europe and Spain and make money as an English teacher. And I did that and ended up falling in love with my now wife, Miss Barbara,
Hmm.
a Chilean flight attendant. And long distance wasn't, the easiest thing. She'd fly from Chile to Madrid, from Madrid to Frankfurt and back, and that was a monthly thing. So we got to see each other, but ended up saying, "Hey, I'm getting a hang of this teaching thing. I'm really got this great rapport with the students, and I'm feeling more confident, and I know what I'm doing, and students love me. I can go teach English in Chile. Why not? I got the Spanish down. Girlfriend's Chilean. Let's move down there, and let's do that for another year."
Right.
That turned into 3 years.
Okay.
So had my daughter down there. Had a great time. My wife was a flight attendant, so we had the flight benefits to travel around
Right.
for very cheap and do fun stuff. And I just got really involved in teaching English, and a lot of it correlates to a lot of the stuff we do now with our customers, and how the way you got to adapt your communication style. I'd have 5 to 8 different classes per day,
Hmm.
all over the city, working for different I do business English with lawyers. I would do stuff with a teenage person at the house, teaching them in their house. I would go over here and teaching someone else's condo. It was just all over the city, right? So just every part of the day was different. Every type of student was different, and they also had to like you, and you had to know what you were doing and be prepared for the classes and build that relationship in order to keep them as a customer. So um, that's pretty much what I did um, for those years in Spain and Chile. So I'm sure you got questions, but obviously that's all condensed into a few minutes of my 20s right there.
No, that's really cool because I am a faith based person, right? I'm a firm believer that our life is like predetermined already. It's written out. Like we're just in this like simulation
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
and we're playing out the simulation in the game, and that's basically it, right?
Yes.
And so I truly believe that everything that you go through really prepares you for where you are now in life, where you will be in the future, etc. And we can make wrong or different decisions here and there that might like steer us off to a different path, but
Right.
ultimately we're always going to end up being where we need to be. And so, you had to meet your wife, so you had to be abroad, and so you had to have these experiences and ended up where you are now with these experiences. You're in the construction industry in Texas. I mean, you wouldn't be as successful as you are if you didn't speak Spanish. And I truly believe that, right?
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Absolutely. Very
Yeah,
helpful.
very
Um,
helpful.
So, and that was actually when we first moved back in 2018. I started because I pretty much had all that time off from when I was at Moon Valley Nurseries when I was in young 20s. So I was really starting fresh, basically like I came out of
Right.
university, but I was spent 4 years abroad. So I had to take an entry level job at Sherwin, and it was a management trainee program, and they had an asterisk on preferred Spanish speaker, just because of the daily interactions with the contractors, in the
Yeah,
stores,
for
and
sure.
ended up being amazing for my career. And I grew really fast within Sherwin and had 4 or 5 different positions in those 3 years and 3.5 years. And it was really just kind of meant to be type thing. And that's when I got my feet wet in the building materials industry. And as once you're in it, you can go do. It doesn't really matter the product or the side of the business it is. You really learn the ins and outs, and it gives you kind of an ability to sell or manage accounts or do whatever you need to do in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the industry, right? There's so many jobs that people could choose from. You're actually the second person on this show that worked with Sherwin and comes from the paint coating industry. So
Hmm.
we're not going to get into nerdy paint coating conversations. You guys can actually watch my episode with Ozzy. I'll tag it below if you want to get into nerdy paint coating conversations.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get into nerdy tile conversations, I'll also link my my episode with Mike Weaver, which is the VP of
Mike.
Sales in my division here at Emser Tile and Stone, here below. So you come to us and you have this world of experience. I sometimes do Spanish episodes, so I may have to like grab you for one of those. They're few and far
Perfecto.
between, but I think there is a huge part of the industry that is speaking Spanish, particularly for those of us here in the United States. And, LinkedIn is a global platform. So I'd be
Absolutely.
remiss to not, get some Spanish speakers on here. But the finishing side of the industry, we're last, right? I
Yes.
mean, paint, tile, cabinets, light fixtures, we're last. But
Yes.
we're what I said at the beginning. We're what everybody sees at the end. We're that pretty Instagram picture, that awesome HGTV reveal, and everything else. There is a ton of stuff that happens before that. And
Yes.
you and I work in two totally different divisions, although
Hmm.
there's some crossover, right?
Yes.
And you have been with the company for 4 years now. You're
Hmm.
part of one of our national award winning teams just because of the volume of sales that you bring in to the company through your North Houston branch
Hmm.
and probably beyond that. But this is a relationship business. It's a people business. You kind of touched on it a little bit as you were
Yes.
telling your story. So it doesn't really matter what it is that we provide. I don't want to say sell because we have a product that people need, and we are one of God knows how many places that
Hmm.
people can go get that product, right? They don't come to us for the product. They're
Correct.
coming to us because Taylor is a cool guy to just talk to and hang out with. And I can tell that just by having a conversation with you for a few minutes, right?
Heck
Obviously, if I
yeah.
need to buy this product, I want to buy it from somebody that I like, that I enjoy spending time with, and that
Correct.
I'm going to trust. So you have to build this reputation of trust. And
Yes.
you mentioned that you did that while you were teaching, right? You
Hmm.
taught at corporate law firms, high school, or younger kids, and
Yep.
everybody in between. So you're almost like a chameleon when it comes to personality, and that's really not anything that anybody can teach. It's your personality.
Right.
It's who you are.
Yeah.
But for
And doing
people
it
who
over
are,
and over, just getting that
yeah,
repetition and just becomes, it helps to have the base foundation, your personality,
yeah,
and make it natural. But then just doing it over and over and over and over, it just becomes so natural. And like
yeah,
you said, you just have to build that chemistry and that rapport, through early on, but also throughout the entire, relationship that you have. And that's the great thing about being on territory, 2, 3, 4 years is, it's great to change positions and move on and stuff, but you really get to build those 3, 4 years down the road with some of the same customers. You really have, some of my East Texas customers, when I stay overnights there, I go to their kids' basketball games in the evenings and sit in the bleachers and watch, that's our sales meeting is after we go to the showroom is like, I'm just hanging out with them, watching their kids play, high school basketball or football. So, I
yeah,
mean,
for
you're
sure.
2, 3, 4 years down the road. And so what I'll say to new people starting out on territory is sometimes it can be overwhelming, especially if you're in a situation where there maybe been some turnover or it's an apology tour or it's whatever. The best, that happens, right? Where it's just we
Yeah,
have
for
some
sure.
great markets, we have some markets that need some work. Um, but you get to come in and you get to be the new experience. So just because there's been a bad experience in the past, you can almost look at that as an advantage and go, okay, that's we haven't served this area very well lately. So that's going to make me look even better when I just
Yeah, for
consistently do
sure.
what I have to do and do it well. So it's not going to happen the first visit. It's not going to happen the second month. It's like just keep doing what you say you're going to do. Keep showing up. Keep, you know, building a relationship, keep doing, you say you're going to do something, do it and show up, answer your phone, be responsive, be quick. And I promise you, after 4 or 5, 6 months, a year down the road, you fully have the trust. And now they might say, yeah, we've had some bad things with Imzer in the past, but they now have a whole new vision of what Imzer is. I got my guy Taylor here. He's taking care of us. So, they start coming to you first for opportunities and for things. And that just starts to build and compound. That way you get to year 3 or 4, and it's just like all the work you put in back in the day, 2, 3, 4 years ago, starts to compound and starts just flowing in. So for the newer people that are struggling or having a rough first year or whatever on territory, it does get better. Just keep doing the basics and keep doing the right stuff, and it will start coming back to you.
And that's with anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be selling transformers. You could be selling, mulch.
Correct.
You could, you
Doesn't
could be
matter.
selling washers. You could be selling paint, tile, vinyl, which we sell as well.
Mm-hmm.
That laminate looking flooring for folks who aren't in the flooring industry, carpet. It doesn't really matter what it is that you're selling or that you're providing. It's knowing that you have to build a relationship with people, and that just really truly takes time. When I first started at Emser Tile, I had a reputation in the Northeast. I had built a business in the Northeast, been, in and around the construction industry for about 7 or 8 years at that time. So the transition from that to Emser was pretty seamless. Then fast forward to I live in Florida, where not many people know who I am. Not many people even know what Emser is, and that's East Coast in general. Emser is a West Coast company. We've been around since 1968, privately held, over 1,000 employees, which is why Taylor and I met on LinkedIn. It's not that we don't work. Yeah, it's not that we don't work for the same company. It's that the company is, although privately held, relatively large. We've got, 4 distribution centers nationwide. We've got a QA facility and so many other things, right? Yeah. So, but building this business in the state of Florida was very different than building the business in the state of New York, right, or any of my other East Coast territories where I've already had a presence and a footprint. If I were to grow this business in the Woodlands, now I know you're in the Woodlands. Anybody comes to me from the Woodlands, I know who to hit up, right?
There you go.
Be like, hey, Taylor, I need you to go drop off a sample, right? So anybody from the Woodlands watching, you've got 2 of us here. We've got you covered. And we know y'all got some big houses that need to be remodeled because most of them were built in the 80s and 90s. I lived in one of them houses built in the 90s. I know my room. They're all ready. I know my bathroom needs to be remodeled. My old bathroom when I was in high school is a Jack and Jill with my brother. I remember it, definitely needs some new tile. So
we'll take care of it. Don't worry.
That's most of the Woodlands, right? And a lot of suburbs in the US. But you're right. Building a business and having that trust is really, really important. So of course, the crossover from Sherwin-Williams to Emser was it took a little while because you were selling a different product, but probably managing a lot of the same relationships, which we call a book of business in the world of business development. And if people here on the platform are interviewing for roles, I know that we have roles open across the country, and there are many other companies in the construction industry that need good people, literally good people, competent people, show up on time, do what you say you're going to do. We'll teach you the rest. Then definitely look into the construction industry because it's one of those industries. But yeah, your book of business will travel with you wherever you go. And so will your reputation. So I've built a reputation here on LinkedIn. You probably found me through mutual people's posts. Maybe Mike Weaver tagged me or Emser or something to that effect, or it just kind of came across your feed. But then I built a reputation and a rapport with you as a fellow colleague, an employee from the company, enough to where you trusted me to sit here with me today and do this interview. It all comes full circle, right?
Love it.
But besides the relationships, you have to do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
And you and I both know that you and I are not the people that do half of this stuff. We've got all these awesome operations, customer
Oh yeah,
service, warehouse, distribution center, sample place people, etc.
ordering.
So
Yes,
yeah, ordering, like you name it. So what are some of the good qualities, I think, if companies are watching? Because I know a lot of smaller companies are watching. So if you were to say some of the things that we do really, really great as a company, or things that in general help a business development person is trying to grow a business, is what the business really relies on, right? Like the business relies on people like us. Like if we don't bring
yes,
in new business, then
correct.
payroll doesn't get paid,
Mm-hmm.
not just our payroll, but everybody's payroll. So it's
Yes.
a huge responsibility for a lot of small businesses. That's the owner and maybe one or two other people, if that, but usually just the owner. It might be some companies have small, sales or BD teams. So if an owner is watching or a business is watching as a customer success story, what would you say are some of the things that are really, really important for that back office to have?
I would say customer service is everything, and part of that is your relationship and sales and things like that. Obviously, as in sales, you got to get the products in front of your customers, and you have to make sure that they're knowledgeable about that and they understand it and they have the ability to sell it, and that's all fine and dandy. But if the back end does not service the customers, whether that's through ordering, through proper warehouse work and loading up people have very important orders that need to arrive and they expect it to be there Tuesday because they're starting that job Tuesday afternoon. And if it gets there and they're missing a bag of grout, or they're missing the boxes the wrong color or anything like that, it's absolutely it can throw a wrench in their entire business, their entire day. So I mean, there's the sales side and the operation side, and then both sides have got to have just excellent customer service. And I think that's one of the separating factors that IMSR prides itself on is
Yeah.
obviously the customer service from the rep and the ability to be responsive and help them out in the field and answer questions and product things. But the other thing is to have their orders responded to quickly, have everything processed right, the logistics, getting it from point A to point B, and then also when stuff's not available, not just saying it's not available, but going that extra mile and saying, well, let me see if I can pull it from here and we can maybe transfer some of in from here. Or, hey, we
Yes.
don't have that one, but let me look at, there's three different options, send that before you just say no. Cause some companies just say, sorry, we don't have that right now. The ETA is, the end of August. Well, that's not going to work. They need it next week. So the
Right.
ability for you and your team to work together and know the expectation, which is to find every solution to help your customer at the end of the day, is ultimately what makes the biggest difference. Is you are a service provider and a product supplier to these end users, and the easier you can make their lives and their businesses operate, the more they're going to want to come back and utilize your products and your services. So it's just connecting the dots at all levels and making sure the whole team is on the same game plan. And that's really when these businesses can start thriving.
All right. So, second to last question. But I always ask people to tell me, a little bit about what they do or they don't do in business. And since we've already had Big Mike on the show, why don't you tell us what Emser is not?
What IMSR is not.
Yeah, what Emser is not. So we sell tile and stone. We sell setting materials. People know that. We've got 5,000 plus SKUs. We're from the West Coast. Like that's common knowledge, right? So what are we
What can
not?
we we are we are not a big box store, I would say.
Okay.
We are
All right.
we can we have warehouses. We can service in many ways like a big box store if need be, and handle customers and contractors like a big box store can. But we have a little bit more of a personal touch than a typical big box store. So I would say, while we have warehouses and distribution centers and customer service and things like that, we offer in-house design services that you just can't get, right? So I mean, if you have a homeowner and you're working with a builder, their ability to send their customer in either with a designer, with themselves, or with one of our partners in the branch, that extra level of helping design an entire house or entire bathroom or shower is kind of next level service. So I would say if there's something that we're not, it's not the typical building materials supplier, right? We're many
Yep.
levels beyond that. Other than that, I'm not sure what else we're not, but I know we are a lot of things.
Yeah, no, you actually nailed it with that answer. I was actually hoping that that would be your answer, and that's actually how I start most conversations with most builders, most designers, most owners in general. I could sit here and give you a long list of things that we are, and the things that we do and what we can offer. But we are, it's probably easier to just say we're not a big box store. So
Right.
if you want something quick, we could probably make it happen when we need to make it happen. But in general, you're not going to walk into one of our branches and say, I need 3,000 square feet of this, and
Right.
it be in the back warehouse waiting to be purchased, all from the same lot.
Right.
And, having the right lot even is one of the things that we are that a big box store
Correct.
may not be. And unless the designer or somebody that knows what a lot number is going in to purchase a tile at a big box store, they're not going to know to check for a lot number. And for folks watching who
They're
don't
just
know
going to
what a
sell it.
lot number, yeah, don't know what a lot number is, white is white until it's not white, and it's not the same white. And different lot numbers have different variations of a white, and it could be the exact same white color and exact same white skew, but it may not have come from the same lot. It may be 2 or 3 years difference.
It's going to
So
look a
the
lot
dyes
different
are, yeah,
on your bathroom wall with the light shining on it. So that's
yeah,
not a good
exactly.
route to go. Now,
Not a good route to go.
I will say a caveat to that is the benefits, obviously, and the advantage we have here in Houston is being 15 minutes down the road from one of the biggest distribution
Yes.
centers, right? So from
Yeah,
that aspect, can we have material the next day from there?
for sure.
A lot of times, yes.
You
So
can.
so I have the advantage. I know, East Coast and stuff, they have to get it shipped from Virginia or from here. So that's that. But I do want to say, for anybody sourcing here, Houston locally, if we got to get something that day or the next day, we can make exceptions, run up there, grab it, and complete that project for you.
And I can as well. I'm in Florida. We have a distribution center in
There
Florida.
you go.
And for most orders, honestly, we're going to pull from Houston. We're going to pull from Virginia. And truthfully, we've got transfer trucks going out throughout the week. And we can pretty much make anything happen if we need to make it happen. And if we can't make it happen, we say, hey, it's going to be 5 to 7 days, 7 to 10 days. Give the project manager or whoever's making the schedule time to rearrange their installers or do what they need to do. But most people come to us because it is more of a bespoke service. Most people are coming to us well in advance. We know months, sometimes a year in advance. I've got
Yes.
projects delivering in New Jersey right now that we designed 10 months ago. And, these are
It's longer sales cycle than a lot of people think.
a
And
much longer
and
sales cycle.
like you were saying, we are the finishes, right? So we're last, but a lot of times, since we are the pretty fun stuff, we're often the front of people's minds at the beginning of the design cycle. So uh, oftentimes the process can start with us, obviously the build and the construction and things, but people are starting to select their tile finishes and countertops and things very early in the process. So that can happen, like you
Much
said,
early.
especially on commercial jobs, especially on $2-3 million homes. That can happen 6-8 full year out before the actual order is done. So you got to follow that cycle the whole way through, and so that can be that can obviously have its own challenges with material and stock and pricing and stuff. So that's something that has to be managed as well along the wholesale cycle.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's the smart designers and builders, people who've been doing this for years, who've been
Start early.
burned. But yeah, start early and include your vendors in the pre construction phase. That way you can lock in your pricing
Yep.
with a volatile market like we have right now and have
Lock it
had
in.
since the past, I don't know, since 2020, the market's just been like haywire
Yep.
with construction material. I don't care what you're ordering. You can lock in that pricing now, right? And it's not like we have this material and, we're hoarding it for this other person or that other person or whatever. You also get to like lock your material in. And
Big.
we will make sure that you get your material when you need it and make sure that your installs and your schedules are in place. And guess what? If
Very
you need us to
important.
hold that material an extra 2 weeks because you're delayed because of something else, we'll probably hold that material for you for an extra 2 to 3 weeks as well. You
Absolutely.
know,
Not a
we
problem.
don't want to, but we will.
Yeah. We want to
you
ship it,
know,
baby.
um, yeah, we definitely want to ship it. And, a lot of people do. I think that one of the things that I would say to folks that are newer in the industry or just newer to the management side of the industry, your suppliers are going to be your best friends. When I was a builder, my paint rep, my tile reps, including, and I worked with Chloe and Mike Weaver. When I was a builder, I was a client of Emser's.
That's
And,
great.
yeah, so I would say lean on us also for the knowledge, right? You need to understand how a niche needs to be framed out because of the size of the tile. That's why you want to select your tile early so that you don't have little cuts and ugly things.
Hmm.
And, you need to double check quantities, or you need to, figure things out. We're there for you. We'll go to your job site. We'll meet with your installers. It's a much different experience than going to a big box store. Is there a time and place for big box stores?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Is our product in big box stores? Yes, actually, it is. There
Yep.
are Emser products in many big box stores, from Home Depot to Pro Source, and others across the country. So
Yep.
we are, I think, and I know it sounds like an Emser commercial, but we're a family owned business that, still operates like a family owned conglomerate despite the size of the company. And if there's one
Absolutely.
thing that the construction industry loves, is that white glove service, that family business, being treated like family, being able to invite you to games, being able to invite you to special celebrations and things of that nature. I feel like a lot of my connections and contacts in this industry are my friends, and
Yep.
I told you earlier in our pre-call, like, I feel like you and your wife sound like really cool people. Like, I want to hang out with you.
Yeah. Come on down to the Woodlands. I still can't believe that you lived in the Woodlands. That's amazing. So, and you took dance at my mom's dance studio. So
Yeah, I know. That
that's
is
just the
wild. Like,
greatest.
it is the
That
greatest.
seemed so planned because of how ironic it was, but that was absolutely just the greatest way to start off the call. I love it.
No, it absolutely was. So tell your mama that she probably doesn't remember me because I was probably there for like a year and a half before I went off to Baylor. But yeah, tell her one of her former students from, the old class of '03 says hi.
I love it. I will.
um, and so, last and final question, how can people find you? How do they connect with you? How do they follow up on this conversation if they want more information about you, about what you do, or even some mentoring, right? Because the
Right.
Everything Construction Live is really about showcasing different careers that make us a lot of money and help us
Hmm.
live, comfortable lives with our, spouses or families, and do all the things,
Absolutely.
and work in a really fun environment and industry. So how do we
Yeah, I
connect
would
with you?
say LinkedIn's probably the best way. I'm active on LinkedIn, as a lot of you know. I've already I get calls periodically from different BDMs around the country, and different new reps to I've been involved in a lot of new rep training around the country whenever they come into town for trainings. And so
Hmm.
I love answering the phone. I love answering DMs on LinkedIn, questions about merchandising, questions about different products or different ways to get to certain types of customers. So yeah, DM me on especially if you work within Inzer already. You can reach out to me by email through our company portal, or obviously through LinkedIn. Find me, and I'll share my phone number and give me a call. And I'd love to mentor, love to help reps or anybody else who has questions about anything. I'd love to be a part of that. And then anybody who is looking to do work with Imser Tile, same thing. Reach out LinkedIn, or I guess on the show notes you could share my info, but I could share my work phone number as well on there. And if you're in the Houston area or surrounding areas, I'd love to partner with you and get to know your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that most of our team is in the Texas market, from Austin to Dallas. and we make our way over to Houston. So whether it's a personal trip or a business trip, I am sure I'll be in Houston very soon. So I'll definitely connect with you next time I'm in Houston. Until then, everybody have an awesome Memorial Day weekend. Taylor, this has been such a fun conversation. Still can't believe the whole Woodlands thing, and
Thank you
your
so
mom's
much.
dance studio and everything. But thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one. Until next time.